A hybrid between Roll Cage, Unreal Tournament, and Trackmania isn't something I expected when my brother shared this game with me. But that's kind of what we ended up with Grip XR, a sequel to a game that I played off and on. Grip was fun in bursts, but I never really got into it for the long grind, so imagine my surprise when a demo became one of my new favorite games to play. There's a little more Roll Cage DNA in this one than Grip, which makes the fans of the old PS1 games happy. It's a lot snappier with unique gameplay thanks to the game's hook, Crank, which feels right at home, letting you pull off some actual car parkour. The first one had this kind of funneling element, which would catch your car or end up riding on barriers for too long, which is kind of a byproduct of being thrown around in rocket tanks that weighed tons. With the old physics and the old maps, kind of felt like it hurt the gameplay, feeling like you're barely in control, and they basically eliminated that this time around, which is a huge plus. Thanks to the physics improvements, the game takes it pretty well in stride. I'm showing a whole bunch of clips to show you that you can pull off pretty much some 6 saves, tricks, or whatever you want. Pretty much you can drive on it, you can see it. Now that I learned how it works, I actually find it's actually part of the fun, seeing what you can recover, just how far you can push it, versus what used to be run ending in Grip, which would just take all the fun out of it. I know I'm not alone here, because I've gathered clips from others who feel the same way in the shorts that I post. Everyone agrees that the current way is pretty much the path to blast and play. Even one of the head developers sees all the cool stuff the community's been doing. There's been talk about leaving some of the physics bug exploits in as maybe a mutator, if it's too broken for the main game. And that's cool, more options, more way to play. That's a philosophy I can definitely get behind, and that's why I supported them. With Air Blades and Hyperspeed both being something they added later on in Grip, just to spice it up. It's clear they have some flexibility. By now I've put over 100 hours in. Yeah, I am that guy. When Chris talked about people deep diving, it's crazy considering it was just a prototype I wasn't sure about. The first one didn't really grab me, but the feeling of freedom I haven't felt since you canceled UT4. Aside from the steering being too twitchy and taking some time getting used to it, how much I had to touch it, it's more accessible for newbies than the old game, which was pretty punishing. But I also found XR to be surprisingly deep with emergent cool gameplay, which is surprisingly satisfying to dig into. There's just some things that need to be ironed out and then everything will be golden. Like the car handling, the community agrees on is probably too twitchy, which can make people think the first one drives better, and they're probably right. And then there's some collision bugs, the accidental triggering and such. There's not a whole lot that needs to change, so that devs can just move forward. The demo is obviously just a taste of what's to come. With the kind of fun ways to mix it up, the devs will be able to cook up even more than the stuff that we've already seen shared in their teaser concepts that I'm sharing here. And with plenty of community suggestions to cherry pick, throw in a test build, they're pretty unlikely to run out of ideas. What's in store for everyone is bringing back new takes on old favorites, new coat of fresh paint, brand new stuff, and this doesn't even cover the fact that we're going to be getting a track editor, which is really going to unleash it in the hands of the people. Looking at even the ultra blurry screenshots they shared, it looks really promising. Playground Canyon was clearly built off this proto editor, and there's a lot you can do with it. This guy looking here is building a full city, and that is nuts. Even coming from Trackmania, when we had block mixing, you could never really do subtraction booleans like the one they already have in the editor. Used to make some tracks in that, and the creative freedom we have in the future editor, when they release it, might end up as the best ever for a racing game, possibly surpassing TM 2020. The goal is to get as powerful a tool as possible into our hands, with splines and landscape editors being the ultimate goal, on top of things they've already promised to us, like playing with whatever gimmicks that they have in the game, such as portals. I really like how they're not shy about playing around with the foundations that they built, just like Unreal Tournament. Unlike Sun Company's Nadio, which played it safe, then these devs have a lot of gameplay variety. It's closer to feeling how Nintendo or Epic handles their level designs. Speaking of variety, they're going hard into this time, on the visual end too, with skins embracing both the gritty hardcore and candy color punk. The tracks already have a random weather lighting, which is a nice quality of life improvement over the first one, and which could only use that during the alt takes like reverse tracks. Devs are nothing but dedicated. When the first game failed on Kickstarter, they continued on, found a publisher, eventually released it to early access on Steam. Beyond that, they continue releasing patches, improving the first game for years, listening to the community feedback. So they have a lot of commitment to their ideas. These aren't the kind of guys who would just phone it in and call it a day. We're not in the same boat where it's a failed Kickstarter this time, but in the final day remaining on Kickstarter, with just the initial funding, the game will be far from reaching its full potential, rather than the spiritual successor they have been dreaming about for a decade. So this is for one more push. I checked as I'm editing this, and it's only about 5,000 away from our first stretch goal, which is nothing but achievable. So if you haven't tossed them any support or told your friends about it, now's the time to spread the word. In closing, devs put their lessons from feedback and honed their skills from the last 10 years into this love letter to the old fans, hoping to stagnate some new ones along the way. Worked on me, but it's still flying under the radar for many after the Discord was hacked and lost some 20,000 people on the server. There was a couple months ago, so it could use some extra help. If you want to see some things they've been thinking about, be sure to check out the GripXR Kickstarter, both dev interviews and Q&A hosted by a longtime fanatic, Simile. Oh yeah, and one last thing. The trial courses from Roll Cage Scramble Mode, they made it in his Carcore and Grip, but this time it's getting some extra love into a new revamped mode called Playground where you collect the orbs around them, and it's definitely not something to skip. I found myself right alongside old time trial experts playing out their routes and setting new baselines. So here's some current world record runs by me using both Tempest and Mirage, the two cars in the demo that we got, representing the battle between top speed and acceleration. I know Chris will especially like this part because he's the one who's been building it, I think. Not many people have given it time of the day yet, with racing taking front and center attention. So chill out and enjoy one of the great songs from the game that CaveBat's been crafting up. And that's it. They're not perfect, and it's all improvable just like the demo. If you made it this far into the end, thanks for watching and see you on the tracks.